Those of us who thought it would change everything were obviously wrong. For most of our countrymen, it has not done anything of the kind. They want reassurance. They even take part in opinion polls saying, I want a politician who makes me feel safer. Can anything be more contemptible than this exercise? And we suffer like the sugar in the kidneys of a diabetic, as Rebecca West called the moral atmosphere of the Chamberlain government, from two very widespread illusions. First, that we ourselves are the cause of terrorism. Senator Harry Reid, I give you, I don't pick at random some extremist like Michael Moore or Ramsey Clark, the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate, says that yes, it's true that Al-Qaeda is in Iraq. The only time on which, now it's obviously there and has gone to all the trouble of calling itself Al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia. It's no longer denied that it's there, you notice. But it's only there because we are there, says the Senate. He said it in a reply to a presidential broadcast. It was not an ill-considered or off-the-cuff remark. A prepared statement. Yes, Al-Qaeda's forces are in Iraq, but they are only there because of us. Defeat in the mind, surrender, capitulation, as well as a completely false statement of the case. As we well know, Mr. Zarqawi and many of his associates were in Iraq long before the first coalition soldiers set foot there. Or an alternative argument made recently by Maureen Dowd in the New York Times, that the problem is that we are in occupation of what she called Muslim land, denominating territory by religion, clearing the ground on the New York Times op-ed page for the caliphate to come. Well, this is a pretty dire state of moral surrender as well. Or we are told that if only we could drop the Jewish state off the back of the sled, they'd leave us alone. Sometimes this is phrased as that Israel-Palestine is the crucial question of the solution, etc., etc. Well, everyone should know, and probably does in this room, but I'll say it briefly. Al-Qaeda is an outfit that begins in Asia, not in the Middle East. It starts with trying to develop, by tearing out the territory of the Philippines, an independent Muslim state in the Philippine archipelago. It goes on to demand the return of East Timor, which was nearly destroyed as a people by Indonesian occupation, to Muslim Indonesia. It blew up Sergio Vieira de Mello, the great Brazilian UN envoy in Baghdad. It murdered him on his first week on duty in revenge, as stated by Al-Qaeda, for his role in overseeing the independence of East Timor and the election that brought it to self-government. It wants to wrench Kashmir away from the Indian Union with the help of Pakistani subversion. If that was allowed to happen, the resulting bloodbath in the subcontinent would dwarf, absolutely dwarf, what we remember of the bloodletting of the partition of 1947-48, and would wreck and destroy the other great multicultural democracy and ally of ours in the world. It's quite a lot of concessions, in other words, that we're going to be asked to make in order to appease these people and to make sure they don't harbour any more evil thoughts against us. And in my opinion, half of Palestine won't quite satisfy them. And in my other opinion, which I'll share with you, nobody blows themselves up in a Jewish old people's home on Passover in Netanya on the Mediterranean coast of Israel proper, not in a settlement, not against the wall, not in an occupied territory. Nobody does that in order to bring about a compromise. It's just an instinct I have. I have the feeling that they won't be happy until there are no more Jews in what used to be Mandate Palestine. That's certainly what they say they want. I'm in favor of taking the enemy seriously to that extent. And on this question of let's not provoke, and that we're the cause of their reaction, let us just examine this for one more second. All it takes in order to get the diplomatic immunity of a small Northern European democracy violated, its diplomats shot at, its embassies burned by crowds in the capital cities of countries that do not normally allow demonstrations, its trade ruined, its economy sabotaged, its nationals and the nationals of other Scandinavian countries threatened and killed randomly around the world. All that it takes is the refusal of the elected Prime Minister of Denmark to agree, weighted upon as he was by a delegation of 20 Arab ambassadors, to break his own country's law and tell an afternoon newspaper in Copenhagen that it couldn't publish certain cartoons. That's all it takes to bring about jihadism now. That's the threshold of provocation. Now you have to be, I think, a real masochist to say, well then we must avoid doing this kind of thing. Because all they're asking is that we change everything that makes our way of life different from theirs. And then it's true, I suppose, there would be very little to fight about. But in the meanwhile, I think that we have to face the fact that it's a clash of civilization, of course, and about civilization, and within a civilization. It does represent also, I think it's nice to be able to note, a war within Islam too, where we don't know how lucky we are that fighting on our side are forces of the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan and of the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan in Iraq, whose emblem I'm proud to wear in my lapel. People who are fighting against Saddam for us and taking heavy casualties when we thought his regime was a matter of indifference. And these people are just as Muslim and have just as good a right to claim that they observe that faith as do anyone else. We should never forget our duty of solidarity to them, and they are our brothers and sisters in arms. And with the other victims of bin Ladenism and this horrifying cult of death and murder and suicide that says that it loves itself and its cult more than we love life. Much depends then, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades, friends, much depends on the multiple ways in which we can disprove that assertion and assert the power of life and pluralism over the morbid, sordid, and medieval enemy that we're now faced with. Thank you.